Okay, it's obviously our last game of the conference. Big game in a lot of ways for us and for Arizona. It's a rivalry game. I think this rivalry goes back 120 years or something like that, I believe, somewhere in that vicinity. A lot of emotion this week. A lot of passionate fans were involved in this. It's the classic, and you learn that when you're involved in it. My first time being involved in it last year was quite a spectacle and surprise for me, in the fact that there's so many people in the state of Arizona that really are keyed in on this game, whether it's grandma, grandpa, whether it's former people that went to one of the schools. It's just one of those games, and you realize that for us, because we have so many young players on this team this year, I don't know if they understand that. That'll be something we'll talk about this week. How this thing traditionally has gone back over the history of it. And it's kind of interesting after you played in it once, and I think our players that played in it last year as freshmen understand the importance of this game. There's some chippiness. That's part of it. That's just part of it. As long as it doesn't become a factor in the game, and I think officials realize that that's just the way the game is played. And I think we got to control our emotions in a game like this. And I know their coach, he's telling their team the same thing. With that being said, there'll still be some chippiness. We get that part. Last year, the game came down to the fourth quarter for us. We were behind most of the time in this game, to be quite honest. And we just kept plugging away, and lo and behold, in the fourth quarter, we were able to score 20 points. They had the last possession. They missed the field goal, or they had won that game. So I anticipate it being a close game, a hard-fought game. It'll go down in the fourth quarter, and so we better be prepared to do that, to play for 4 quarters. Questions?
Coach Paul Richardson with the Sports Game. How you doing? Congratulations on Saturday.
Thank you.
How do you temper some of that emotion, that chippiness? One, it is a big game, it's a rivalry game, and then coming off a big victory over Oregon. How do you kind of temper all that and keep everyone balanced?
Well, you talk about it, and we always talk about being a passionate team, not an emotional team, and there's a fine line there. The thing I've learned about these guys is that sometimes, they're so young that they cross the line. They just flat cross it. Now, I say that, and there's some older guys that do it too. You hope it doesn't affect the game. You really hope it doesn't affect the game in a way that all of a sudden, when the game's over, you folks are in here talking about it. You want to talk about what happens on the field during the play, not what happens after the play, right? You don't want that to be your moment. You got to stay away from stuff like that. And when that becomes part of the game, it's bad. It's bad for the game. You want a game to be played physically. You want to have a lot of passion in the game, but you don't want the emotion to spill out. And that becomes the talk after the game. That's never good for football. So it's not good for either program for that to be the case. And so hopefully that won't happen. I think it'll be a very physical football game, though, for sure.
Hold Rubino Devil's Digest. Herm, every win you had against a Power 5 team this year, you were an underdog. And last Saturday, obviously, a huge underdog. As much as there's something to say about perseverance, Saturday you were almost a 2-touchdown favorite against Arizona. Would you like that perseverance?
I don't believe that. That's just people that have nothing to do with this game making those rules up. You guys have been involved in this game longer than I have. That's just stuff. That's on paper. It has nothing to do with what's going to happen on the grass, and that was proven last year. What kind of took place, and so we don't buy into that. And I think the guys that played in it last year, the guys that have played it in multiple seasons, get it. The young guys, they don't know what they don't know. They really don't. They have no idea what this game's going to be about until they play on it. And they'll see the emotion, and they'll see the energy in the stadium, because there'll be energy from both parties now. I mean, they have a great fan base as well, and they'll come here and they'll be cheering, and it'll be a nice atmosphere, similar to what it was against Oregon. That was an electric stadium Saturday night. Our fan base they were special. They were special. They were fantastic. And Oregon had their fan base too. And it was one of those games where it was good for television. Anyway it turned out, it was a good TV game because it was exciting. It got too exciting in the fourth quarter for us with 8 minutes left, to be quite honest. But it was a game that I thought our fan base really helped us. They really did. They were into the game. Our players were into the game. So that's a good thing.
Coach, congratulations.
Thank you.
Today, you gave your team the weekend off, essentially, and a lot of them were out at St. Mary's Food Bank and helping out. Can you just talk about your players as characters and just what that means to you?
Well, it's good to be involved in the community, and this is a weekend of Thanksgiving and to be thankful. And I know our family we're all involved in this as well, personally. And our players to go out today says something about them. About 20 of them went out to the food bank, which was a good deal. You're right. I gave them off, but I think sometimes that gets a little twisted. What we gave them off. Well, no, not really. I mean, 30 of them showed up Sunday on their own. They watched the game, they watched film, and you do this all the time. When it's toward the end of the year, we've gone through a hard month, and they won a game, and I know my team better than anybody. You're supposed to know your team. You know the pulse of your team. And so I think some people say, well, what do you do on Sunday? Well, basically Sunday you come in and watch the tape, and you feed them, and you stretch, and that's it. It's not like you work out. So Monday they're off. So really it gets kind of, we gave them a day, well, I had to give them a day off. Let them breathe. It was good. A long night, a lot of emotion. I always look through the eyes of the player. And I said, if I was a player, I know what I would want right now. And they deserved it. They beat the sixth-ranked team in the country, coming off 4 losses. And I think that gave them energy. And lo and behold, on Sunday, 25, 30 guys showed up on their own, had their own meetings, went in there, watched tape. I anticipated that, to be quite honest. So it all works out.
Chris Cartman, Son of a Source.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Herm. So you mentioned knowing the team better than anybody.
Better.
Yeah, and you had said after some of the recent losses that you were surprised by some of the undisciplined play or guys not performing in the way that they were supposed to. So did you have an anticipation of the Oregon game before it happened, or what were you thinking about going into that game?
Thought we had a great chance to win, to be quite honest. But you're asking the wrong guy. 'Cause I think that every week. I really do. And when I don't think that, I won't be sitting at this podium anymore. I'll go back home. Why do you do all this? There's a lot of hours in this. I get in this building every morning at night, and I leave at night. I spend a lot of time in this building. I spend a lot of time looking at tape and studying the opponent and trying to help coaches and players. I'm invested in this. Okay, this is not a hobby. This is what I do. And if you don't feel good when you walk into the ball yard, whether it's at home or on the road, that you have a chance to win, then this is not the place for you, to be quite honest. This is not like you roll the dice and hope they turn out right. I don't do that. I just think that. But there's a certain way you got to play against every opponent. There's a plan that goes into it. We were able to execute our plan early in this game. We talked about it. We talked about it all week about making it a slow, boring game, to not let them get off to a fast start. They scored 188 points to 86 in the first half. And we said if we could make us slow it down, limit the possessions, we'd have a chance. And I said, we got to play really, really good. We got to play really, really good. And with that being said, it held up until about 8 minutes in the fourth quarter. And then they rallied. And be quite honest, we didn't take care of the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left. We had 3 possessions. 2 of them were 3 and outs. And when you get into that position, you got to close the game out. You got to make first downs. You make 3 first downs, game's over, done. We didn't do it. And then defensively, we gave them quick scores. So it became a game again. And it was very important for us when the last possession that we got involved in, we managed the clock correctly and got off the field to win. So I enjoy that. Maybe I'm crazy, But I just enjoy that. I enjoy football. I enjoy the strategy of it. I enjoy watching the players work hard, and then their effort is paid off when you win a game like that. I mean, for that fan base to come on that field, those players, maybe in their lifetime as a college athlete, they don't see that a lot, to be quite honest. I mean, who sees that a lot when they rush the field? I mean, you see other people doing it, and then all of a sudden you're involved in it. I'm right involved in it. They're coming on the field, and I'm saying, good for them. Good for them. You know? I was just worried about the goalposts, and they finally told me, no, Coach, you just let them down. I said, how much does that cost? They tear them goalposts. They said, Coach, you got to let. I said, that's pretty smart. You know, I didn't know that. So I learned something too, right? Only guy that was mad was the groundskeeper. He's mad at all those people. I said, let them come on the grass. It's okay, you know, because it was. You don't realize that for these guys, 20 years from now, they'll be talking about that. They'll be talking about, hey man, you know what we did in our backyard here with our fan base, and they came on the field, man. I mean, that's what's great about college, because you see it. You see it in basketball. You see it in football. When they storm the field, man, and sometimes you're watching on television, you go, man, how does that feel? I've never witnessed it. I've never been a part of it. That was my first time. It was great. It was great. It was fantastic, because it was a school win. It was a fan base win. It wasn't just our win. It was everybody's win, you know, and that's the fun of it all. That's what makes college football so unique. And so for me, I know I'm getting long-winded to answer your question, but when you don't think you can win, you can't walk out on that grass, man.
Can I just follow up? Did you sense the players were really ticked off? Because after the game, you mentioned that you get kind of sick of losing. Did you sense that your players were in a different headspace after the 4 losses?
Yeah, I think they started realizing, what's going on here, and the only person who can do something about it is us, and we got to stop beating Sun Devils. We were playing against ourselves for about a month, and we were doing a good job of beating ourselves too. We were doing a really good job of it, and we got to stop all that. And look, we didn't play this game cleanly, to be quite honest. There was a lot of fouls, 12 fouls, which killed drives, with extended drives. It was just, but the passion of the team, we just kept playing. They just kept playing, and when we needed a play, somebody made a play. The 2 turnovers were critical. The 4th down stop was critical. The 3rd and 16. Kidding me? That's a big play. All those plays were involved in it. I had Ayuk over there today. You can't. I said, I get it. You scored a touchdown. You can't do that. That was a 15-yard foul. He knows, but I get it. I said, hey man, I know where you were, and I wasn't mad at you. I said, I'm hugging him. I said, I'm good, but you can't do that. That's a no. You can't, because we got to kick the ball off. Now they get field position. By the way, we ain't stopped them. So all those things become part of it, but it was a lot of fun Saturday night, that's for sure, for this football team.
Thanks.
Coach, I saw Jaden randomly in the parking lot.
When?
5 minutes ago, right? Right before I walked in.
Okay.
He's showing up on his day off.
Yeah.
What's that mean to you? What does that say to you that your guy's showing up on his day off?
Oh, he's the quarterback. He has to be in the building. That's what the quarterback does. He's in the building every day. He don't get no day off. He's a quarterback. You first got to come up there and talk to me. We got to have our little talk, and get him ready for this week. And we'll sit down and we'll talk about some things. And I'll prepare him for this game, obviously, and tell him what's expected and what's going to happen. But yeah, he's always around here. He got a permanent seat in my office. Half the time I'm in meetings, I walk up there and he's sitting in my office. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. He's that kind of kid. He doesn't like losing. He really doesn't. When we were walking down the tunnel before the game, I said, "You ready for this?" He said, "Coach, I'm ready." I said, "Go show off then." He doesn't like losing. Think about this kid in high school. He didn't lose a lot of games. It was hard on him too. He said, "Coach, I said, I get it. Let's go do something about it." And so he's that kind of guy. He's learning college football. He's a freshman, and he's put in a tough situation, with a lot of other guys that are young like that. So there's a lot of them that are around here, more than you can imagine. They got to do it on their own. It's not, we can't tell. When guys come in on their own, it tells me something. They love ball. They want to be around it, and that's important. It's important for us.
And just to follow up, are there any concerns that the offense maybe is being overly reliant on his skills, right? There were some deep balls that he threw some nice passes. Would you like to see it be a little bit more diverse?
Well, I like it to be more consistent, to sustain some drives. Now, I'm not complaining about the ability to hit the home run, but I think when we become more consistent, that keeps our defense off the field. That kind of, you control the game when your offense can stay on the field and be consistent. And that's the thing we're missing right now. And a lot of it is due to error. You get behind on the down because you get a penalty. It's first and 15. You're going, are you kidding me? And so it's hard. And so I just think that's the growing process we're going through right now as a football team. And I think the more we learn it, we're going to learn from this season, obviously. There's a lot of things we'll learn. There's a lot of things we're going to learn about ourselves after the season when we all sit it down, and I'm documenting it all, to kind of go over it when the off season occurs and get with the staff and say, look, these are the things we got to improve on. These are the things we got to teach better, right? As coaches, we got to teach these things better. Certain things, aspects of the game, we got to teach better.
Jeff Metcalf, Arizona Republic.
Mm-hmm.
You said, I think I heard you say you were a little surprised maybe by the intensity of the rivalry the first time around. Can you elaborate on that a little? And also, what kind of sense did you get of the Oregon win in terms of the impact on recruiting?
Well, the rivalry thing, as you get into that week, like I am going into it this week, last year, you hear from a lot of people that have been involved in it, players, former players, and I don't get out a whole lot. I mean, I'm here at night. I hear in the morning early, and I leave here late at night. So I don't see a lot of people, per se. Just kind of live in a cave for 6 months, But you just sense it. I've been in ball enough where you kind of feel it, and when you walk in the ball yard of the game, you kind of go, "Oh, okay, I see what this is," and it's a good feeling. Because you know that energy's in the stadium by both parties, by the fan base and players. And then it's just a matter of, okay, let's kind of come to our senses now, because we gotta think about this, about what we need to do, and to play. Yeah. I mean, when you win a game like Oregon, it's kind of interesting. I'll just say it that way. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. We'll leave it at that.
Coach, back here, Kirsten Susel, NBC Phoenix. You mentioned after the game Saturday that the team didn't handle success very well. So
no.
When you take a look back at the way they started the season, the HBO show, the sort of garnering national attention, how much do you think that kind of fed into things?
Well, I think it's with anyone when they achieve some success in their life and when they're young. I mean, you beat 2 ranked opponents. I mean, this team's beaten 3 ranked opponents, by the way. I think that's pretty good for a bunch of youngsters. How do you handle all that? And when you're solid at 5-1 and no one anticipates that, they start, okay, you go, hey, we're pretty good. You go meet Michigan State on the road. If you're a freshman, you're one of those guys, you say, this is what we do. Yeah, but there's more than just what we do. You got to work at it. And so, but that's the part of when you're building and you got young guys. How do they handle when they leave the building? How do they handle that? You get a new set of friends when you're winning, by the way. You just do. They just show up. Oh yeah, and you start listening to all that. You start listening to all this. You start listening to this more than you're in this building listening on the grass going, no. This. And so that's what you battle when you're dealing with young people, right? Especially ones that are very young, like most of the team is. And they all different. Someone's in their head, and that's what you deal with as a coach in today's world of football. At the professional level too, but they're professional. They got to do this for a living, so they got to play good, or they're out. These guys are college players. There's a lot of people that are in their head beside the coach. Because when they're not in the building for the 4 hours we get them, we have no control of who's in their head and who's telling them what. And what they're believing and all this other stuff. And, okay, this guy's getting more attention. He's got more interviews than you have. And why aren't you doing this? And why aren't you? He's playing more than you. And all that stuff, right? And when you're young, people use that. And they tell you all that. And you start buying into it. You know, and all of a sudden you come with the boo-boo lip because you're only getting like half the snaps, and this other guy got more snaps, and somebody wrote a story on that guy, you know, and they didn't write it on you, and you're like, you know, and you see them, they got their little boo-boo face, right? And like, what's wrong with you today, man? You know, and so you got to deal with all that. You know, it's just, hey, it's part of being the ball coach. Like I say, I come here to work every day. You know, I get here early because I know I got 100 players. I got 25 staff members and coaches on. Somebody got a problem. Everybody's not happy like me when they come to work. Somebody got an issue, right? So you deal with issues all day. What's wrong with this dude today? Oh, he's an elevator up, elevator down. I don't know where the elevator is half the time. So you got to deal with all that. And it's hard. It's just hard, you know, but I signed on to do it. So it's what we do every day. Love it. To be quite honest, I really do. I sound like I don't, but I love it. I do.
Follow that, Michelle.
I got another.
Yeah, I went and got it. I got in my TV mode, you know. I just ran through 3 stop signs on television. I said, Coach, it's only a minute. And I said, he just ran through another stop sign. They say that all the time in Bristol. Let him go. Just let him go.
Oh, boy. Anyway, going back to the offensive line, we've talked about that all year, and they played really well and gave Jaden time to throw a lot
they did,
Saturday.
But I think that and we moved the pocket. That was critical. We couldn't block those guys. We didn't want to get into a drop. See, that's why going into this game, I couldn't stress enough. 188 to 86. That's how they outscored their opponent in the first half of games. So now when you come out the second half, you're nervous and you got to throw the ball. And they got some guys that can go hit the quarterback. And they've got 17 interceptions. They got 32 sacks. You're playing into their hand. We didn't want that game. And so we had to move the pocket some. With that, we limited the people going on routes. But we figured if we could get some one-on-one matchups and chunk it down the field, we felt pretty good about our wideouts, that they could get behind people, and they did. And Jaden had to make the throws. I mean, because those are some spot-on throws, and those go routes were like, you know, they're a yard inside the boundary, and they got to be in a spot where the guy can catch it. And they were defended. I mean, it looked like they were running wide open, so they were good throws, but we moved the pocket, and that was critical for us.
As a follow-up to that, you did have five-yard penalties on the offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
What was there a reason for
lot
that?
Of that? Some of it was snap count. Some of it was due to we changed it a little bit, and then some of it was due with the movement of those guys. And that's those are the foolish fouls. Those are the ones where it's 1st and 10, and all of a sudden now it's 1st and 15. I say it all the time, and it kills drives. It just stalls the drive out because now you're in 2nd and long according to what you do on 1st down because it's 1st and 15. You're playing behind the chains. You don't want to do that offensively. So we got to clean it up, and we've kind of done that all year. We've had some fouls where we have way too many penalties on both sides of the football, and so we got to clean that up.
With each new week, it seems like Brandon is just putting on a show. As that kind of goes on throughout the season, how much have you kind of heard from NFL scouts inquiring about him a little more?
Well, there were 10 of them at practice Thursday. So he's in every All-Star game you can play in. He's been asked to play in all of them. And I've sat down and talked to him about kind of the process of all this. He was just in my office, actually. He comes in. He's another one. Always comes in my office, right? There's a handful of them that I see them. They're in my office, okay? And I know they're coming. It's just kind of what we do. We talk. And so I just love the way the guy, he came out of JC. Last year, probably about the 6th or 7th game, you kind of start watching him play, and he got used to the speed. He got used to what was going on. And then this year, he's taken on the approach of Nikhil. in practice, how he works at it, you know, how hard he goes. And so the guy wants to play on Sundays, obviously. And you get evaluated by what you put on the grass. That's your resume. He understands that. He has made a lot of plays similar to Nikhil. When we needed to play, he kind of was the guy last year. He was put in his spot, right? So he kind of knew there was a lot on him. Problem he had is he got a freshman quarterback, right? And he's got a young offensive line. And so he had to deal with that as well as Zeno. But as this thing has gone on, boy, I tell you what, he is dynamic with the ball in his hand. You know, now he's different because he's a heck of a returner too. He can return the ball. But he's playing well, and Frank's playing well. You know, Frank is kind of the hidden guy, where he's got 6 touchdown passes in the last, 3 or 4 weeks. Every time I turn around, he's, you know, catching a touchdown or doing something. So it's good to have those guys because they can score. You know, they can score when they get the ball in their hand.
Coach, we all know a wounded dog is a dangerous dog. U of A's only, they're not bowling, so their season now is beating ASU.
Yeah.
What is it that they do well that you really want to make sure you keep a handle on?
Well, the thing they're rotating 2 quarterbacks right now, and that you can see the future guy obviously play. He's big, tall, got a great arm, and you know Tate is Tate. I mean he makes plays you can't practice. That's the scary part, because you can't practice what he's going to do. Because when he drops back, all bets are off. If you have him covered and he decides to run, you better hope we can go tackle him. You know, he hurt us last year running the ball. He threw 3 touchdown passes on us last year. Ran the ball for about 53 yards. They had 280 yards rushing. You know, Taylor's another guy that can run the ball. They ran the ball on us. You know, they got after us some. We ran the ball a little bit on them. We were really good. We took the ball away and got 9 points on takeaways, and we were really good in the red zone. Because they moved the ball, but we made them kick field goals. Then in the fourth quarter, we kind of got back in the game, and we were able to rally off some points. Defensively, the linebacker, 7, he's a fantastic football. You got to block that guy. If you don't block him, he's going to disrupt your whole offense. Because he's always in the backfield, smart guy. So they're doing a little bit different. They changed the coordinator. You know, Chuck Cecil has done a good job with those guys. I mean, he's asked to be the coordinator. You know, he's kind of, the last 3 weeks, you can start feeling his presence. You know, he was a heck of a football player now. Boy, he was a good player. And they're going to play tough, and they're playing hard for him. So they present some problems. I mean, they really do. They've been on the bad side of some games, you know, and it happens. But you can see that they play hard, and we anticipate they're going to play hard against us. That's the kind of game it is. It doesn't matter what your record is, to be quite honest.
Yeah, Coach, to follow up on that, I'm thinking about the mindset of the folks down there. I mean, things just didn't go according to plan, obviously. So what would you imagine that the coaching staff is saying to the players to get them motivated for this game?
Well, it's the last game of the season, and you want to finish on a winning note. You want the seniors to go out with a win. That's always important. And Kevin, like myself, we're trying to build a program. And so they're kind of where we're at. You know, they're just trying to build this thing. And in a game like this, it's your last game, and if you win, it's like, okay, we won our last game. You know, it's like that's something to look forward to against a rivalry, right? And that's always good because you feel good. That's why all these rivalry games, although it's kind of funny because some of them are not at the end of the year anymore. You know, I don't know, when did that get changed all of a sudden? I mean, it's kind of like, really? I mean, you know, I don't understand. Like the Cal Stanford used to always be the last game, and the SC UCLA used to be like the last game, but I guess UCLA has another game, and SC's done. But some of these games you kind of waited every year, like that's the game. Now they play it like the last game of the season. Maybe because it's a schedule and because I don't know, but I got my own worries. We play Arizona, and that's our last game. Generally, it's always the last game, which is good. I get that part, so that won't mess me up. But it doesn't matter what your record is. It really doesn't in this game, and everybody knows that.
Anyone else?
Good. All right. Thank you. Thank you much.